Welcome to Bragging Rights, episode 19.
Yes.
Well done, Craig.
I genuinely thought he was making it up then. I didn't think it was 19.
It was an educated guess.
Educated man.
The last one I actually remember is episode 15.
Been on a bender ever since.
Wow. Well, there's not much to talk about, is there really?
Not really.
Two high-scoring-ish games for both teams. Two big wins, if you want to call it that. But not a lot to talk about. So,
Not really, yeah.
Two dominant displays that sort of speak for themselves in many ways.
yeah, it's we've agreed that we're gonna try and shorten the amount of time we spend talking about the game, because it really there's not a lot. And then but before we do that, just want to mention our sponsor. So yeah, thanks again to Comscaf for sponsoring the episode, and for Tribal for letting us turn up.
DOS.
Yeah. DOS. Wow. Letting us lodge in their place on a Monday. But once again, you guys won. You're top of the league. So
Ole.
crack on.
I didn't get a bite out of him. I was hoping for him then. Yeah, leading into the game, really pleased with the team selection. That would gone pretty much full strength. Obviously, Jared was out with a ban, so that meant he missed out. And obviously Dean Hadley as well, which I thought was clever, if you will. Smart.
Once we realised he was 1 point off a ban, it was a very astute decision.
Yeah, I agree with that. So yeah, I did write down here, it's an example of our mindset and where we are as a club at the moment. You look at us in previous years, both of our previous two Challenge Cup finals, 15 against Leeds, 23 against Lee, we massively rested what was the matchday squad, and we fell foul to that. So
Seen today that Warrington also did the same last year in there. They was in Challenge Cup final, was it last year?
Yep.
Yeah.
And they also rested the week before, obviously to no joy on the actual cup day. So it seems like both coaches sort of learning
They
something.
played Wigan the week before and played Wigan in the final, didn't they?
And it's the same, it's Burgess for Wire, it's Peters for us, learning and doing something different. And I was the same as you. Once I saw the team, I was very pleased. I thought it was the right decision, and we saw at the end of the day it was the right decision. But pre-kick-off, I didn't think it was.
to go full strength?
Yeah, I thought it was the right
Really?
decision. Yeah.
Oh, you thought it was?
Was you a bit worried about 2 minutes into the game, though?
Yes, I think that's my very first point here that I've got written down.
That's why I just helped you segue
Thanks,
into
you
it.
segued, yeah. So yeah, I've got initial worries in the game when May, Batch and Lewis took knocks. Obviously Batch didn't come out for the second half. Mikey was limping sort of 3/4 of the way through the game. Turned out to be what Peter's described as a corker. I'm guessing there's a dead leg, what we would describe it as. And he did seem to move better the more he ran on it, and the more he was involved and things like that. But yeah, when May went down after about 2 minutes, it was like, oh God, May's down. He don't look good. And then he just got back up and got into the defensive line. So I was like, phew.
Any slight knock, anybody that stayed down for more than the normal amount of time was going to cause panic. If you're playing, you're pretty much full strength squad, because it's just rugby and injuries happen.
Could you sense that twitchiness whenever it happened in the stand?
Yeah.
Honestly, there was a lot of discussion in the stands. It was a good atmosphere. We was loud, but there was also a nervousness to the crowd.
It sounded good. Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah.
It sounded really good before kick-off. It was like, it felt like a big game. Saints at home is always a big game for anyone. But as soon as you got into the game, and we all realised Saints were crap, your crowd did flatten out, and it was like attention your game was just about, it felt like he was always going to win no matter what, and attention was starting to move elsewhere. It was quieting down a little bit, and
it did quieten, and I think my point is agreeing with what you're saying. That little sort of momentum shift, when I think Mikey was the prime example of this. When Mikey went down, obviously yes, he's like our key man, he's our star man. The sort of crowd collectively held its breath, and then he got up, and it wasn't just like the people next to me, like Susan or my old man. It was the full conversation. People were talking about it. Now, normally, even when it's Mikey goes down, there'll be a couple of seconds of like, oh, God, he looks bad. Is he all right? Is he limping? Is he going off? And then you sort of move past it because the game's happening. It lingered for extra minutes. And then it was a case of, and I actually think it was Susan that said, he was like, he don't look good, he don't look good. But immediately afterwards, he took a run in, which he didn't need to do. He decided to go from dummy half himself, and he looked absolutely fine. And then everyone sort of breathed a sigh of relief and was like, oh, he's running it off, it's a dead leg, etc. So it was just that. I think probably after about, definitely the second half, but it was probably before that. It was probably after the second to last try in the first half, so maybe about 35 minutes. It just become a game of, can this game end now, please?
Yeah. I remember, sorry to jump in on your section, but I remember 2016, and we all know how good Mahe was for us that season. And the game before the final against Catalan, he took a knock quite early in the game. We thought, oh no, like he's not going to get through the game. What's going to happen next week? All these thoughts go through your head in that initial few minutes. He ends up staying on, scoring the full-length try, I think it was, at the end of the game, and like just settled down, just all right. Yeah, he's fine. That's all right. But yeah, I know what I know what he's feeling.
Yeah, it's a very nervous feeling, isn't it? So just quickly on the game, then I think we were fast. I won't say clinical, because we had periods where we weren't really. We dropped, especially towards the end, we dropped quite a lot of ball. You know, we made stupid mistakes and things like that. But for the most part, for 80% of that game, we was just way too good for St Helens, and it looked like we had another couple of gears that we could have gone up.
Completely agree. I don't think we played in first gear, whatever the correct term is there, I've messed it up, but I don't think we was at 100% for a good 60-70% of the game. I saw two things in the game. The first one being a parallel to the game at Magic Weekend that we had, where we really didn't destroy a really poor opponent because we tried things out in the second half and we moved players' positions. I think we had a bit of that in the second half. The game wasn't won. I don't want to be so arrogant as to say it was, even though it was, 28-4 at half-time. But there was an element of that. The game was won. We tried a few moves we probably wouldn't do, so we made a few more errors. And I definitely think we went from almost one eye on this week to the final to almost full attention on it, especially after 60 minutes. So I think that played part in it. And then the only other real thing I wanted to know, because it was about the speed, particularly in the first half, there was a lot of high tackles in the first half from Saints. I think there was 4, and rightly so, there's some controversy over whether it was a yellow card or not for Cross. There was almost some kind of debate over, is that almost a yellow card because they've given 3 away already and it's the ref evening it up, which isn't how it works, but that's what people were saying in the crowd and online. I think it was a sign of how quick and how dominant we was against Saints. Watching the game back, it's more the fact that we're beating the man. So there is more lazy arms coming out. We are breaking the line, so they're having to throw sort of last-ditch effort out. So there was more nefarious tackles in that way than there was normally in a game, because we genuinely outclassed Saints in that first half so much that there was always going to be a few errors from them. And I think that's more what it was. And that, watching the game back, made it really quite impressive, and you showed how quick we was. It was really positive leading into the Challenge Cup final. Our attack clicked so much and we were so pacey in the first half. I would give us a good chance to blow most teams away in the first half playing like that. It was a really big positive feeling for me.
Yeah, you mentioned there that we outclassed St Helens in that first half, and for me the epitome of that was Hiku's try. Left to right, the amount of options we threw at that defensive line before the ball got to Hiku was unreal. There was at least 4 or 5 different runners who could have got the ball before Hiku got the ball, and then you've also got the threat of Davies out wide. And then obviously he powered his way over anyway, but that's one try that really stood out to me on the day.
Obviously, I love a centre keeping the ball and going himself.
Don't you, Jimmy?
You're one to talk. You was worse than him.
Because I knew what my winger was.
It's because you could pass if you wanted.
It was just a sign of like the confidence on the day, and Hiku's been one of the best centres in the league in the past month. He really has. I'm not saying the best, but especially since Gildart's been injured now,
18 months,
the attention on him has shown just that he's one of the best, and it just showed the confidence he's playing with, and he carried 4 men over the line. And like, Saints didn't turn up, we get that. I know we're not going to spend hours talking about the game today, but it's still 4 men in a top Super League side that he carried over the line. I was really impressed. I think you're right to call that try out. It was really good.
Yeah, like I say, it was the one that stood out to me. And another one that really did stand out, and I think it's got a bit more prominence to it because of where we are in the season and what's coming up on Saturday, was Mikey Lewis's try. It was very, very reminiscent of Stevie Hubbard's in 1980.
Mikey on the it was great, and Mikey on the night was very, very good. I do think he was at his almost Man of Steel best. I think what a way for him to go into the Challenge Cup final putting on a performance like that. And I actually picked out a couple of quotes that I'd seen online about him, and I thought it was great. So there was a Rovers fan who commented and said, he's such a cunt. I won't say the word. That'll be £40 in the swear jar.
That's at least 50p in the swear jar for
he's such a see you next Tuesday, sometimes, and I love him so much. And then a Saints fan replied and said, you can get away with it when you're that good, right? And then another Saints fan replied and went, I can't begrudge a player like that being a shithouse when his ass can cash the cheques that his mouth is writing. Now, what maybe wasn't as clear on TV was the shit he was getting from the Saints fans.
You could hear it.
But you could hear it on the watch back. And I know people find him arrogant. I know there's people don't like him, not just from Hull, from other clubs, that's fine. But this game, we've said this before, this game needs characters. We need characters like you have in the darts, people that have a bit of showboating, and Mikey has that. And when you're playing, honestly, a 9 out of 10 performance, running that team ragged, playing fantastic, scoring amazing tries like that, he can do what he wants. And people won't like it, that's fine. But he did cash those checks, if that's the right term. And I thought that was really, really good. And obviously other fans picking up on that, because he does get a lot of hate, some of it fair, some of it undue, but he was magic on the night.
You could talk about Mikey all night, and
Yeah, we could,
I'm
yeah.
going to make sure we don't, because you could. The only player that we can liken him to in recent times was Connor, when Connor was with us, because he was cashing those checks most of the time. Not in the same way Mikey does, so I'll give him that. But player that we've got written down here that I want to touch on, because controversial in the same way that what's his face was for Lee the week before.
Yeah, that Mbappe was.
Mbappe, yeah. Doro. So every time we got the ball on TV, you could tell that your fans bum over this fella. And all I kept seeing was him dropping balls.
Look, I don't know what your thoughts on this are, but that started on Friday night. We've got expectations around the guy. We know he's good and we've seen him a couple of times, but we didn't expect him to be an Insember. You know, the comparison there being that he's such a big, tall, rangy, striking, sort of hard-running forward, because he does do that the same that Insember does. That isn't what it was about. It was about the fact that from the first carry, he gave absolute beans. And then he sat one of the defenders on their arse.
George Delaney.
Yeah, the first two carries.
And it was after that the crowd started going like, oh, he's going to do it again, he's going to do it again. I mean, the comment on Reddit that somebody posted saying, he ran at Delaney like Delaney owed him money. And I was like, yeah, he did, right? And I know what you're going to say, and I don't know, he got man of the match in the stadium, which is voted for by the sponsors that sit and have a few free beers and bottles of wine, right? He wasn't the man of the match for us on the night. He had a great game. He also did 4 or 5 stupid errors. He is raw. He is unfiltered. He needs more time doing what he's been doing, which is occasionally getting first team reps. And the people calling for him to be in the team for this week for the Challenge Cup final, look, I'm not saying he will or he won't, but for me personally, he shouldn't be. He is untested to a long degree, and he needs more time working his way up and getting occasional chances against big clubs. And eventually he could be that powerhouse. I think it's a little bit sort of clouded by the fact that he had 2 great runs to start, sat someone on the bottom, and when the crowd started going nuts with 5 beers in him.
Yeah, I mean, why are out on top, are they, really? But you don't want him playing at Wembley, even against that Wire team.
No, I agree. It's not the right time or the right place, and I think he knows that. Peters knows that.
Drip feed him in at the right times.
Yeah, absolutely. His time will come.
Yeah.
If he keeps progressing at the rate he's progressing, then his time will come. So yeah, just to wrap up then, overall very pleased with the performance. It was a very good performance, and obviously the result helped our points difference a little bit, didn't it? So, and the fact that we came through injury free pretty much, minus the knocks.
I don't think we could have asked for a lot more ahead of the Challenge Cup final.
Definitely not.
I think it was the perfect blend of playing what should have been a competitive team that was physical and was there defensively for large patches of the game. So it wasn't, I don't want to dog on them, but there wasn't a Salford. There wasn't a Huddersfield at the poorest. There wasn't a Catalan, how they've played the last 3 weeks. We didn't get to just run over them. So we actually got some challenge in the game. And we won well. We only conceded 1 try. We keep our average try very, very low. It's still under 10 for the season. Said before, anytime you can hold a team, to 1 or 2 tries, you've got a good chance of winning. So I don't think we could ask for much more on the injuries and no penalty points or bans. The only thing I will add, and I do apologise, I know very tight, it has to be mentioned, I think Saint's second try, I think we'd be doing ourselves a disservice if we didn't mention it briefly.
I've got that written down there, but I didn't know where to slide it in.
I just think we need to slide it in just because people want us to talk about it.
Yeah, definitely.
I'll give you my opinion quickly and we can go around. I would have been happy watching it on TV for it to go as a try. I think a lot of the dismay from fans is how quick the video ref, how quick Phelan made the decision. I've seen a lot of people from Rovers fans from the East Stand that were at that side and close to it were saying you could clearly see that it touched the white line outside first. Don't know how you can see that 4B is in a crowd of the East Stand.
Well, that's also, definitely red and white specs in it.
Also, the linesman apparently flagged for it to be out, but the ref did send it up as a try. There's so much confusion over it. My 2 cents on it. I would have been happy it was a try. I think it was that close. It was a great individual bit of brilliance, as we see wingers do week in, week out in Super League now. My second point being, I get the frustrations. When you're spending split seconds, we want to be like the NRL, we want to be like State of Origin, we want split second video ref decisions, but only when they can be split second, not when there is an element of doubt.
It was how quick the decision was made for me. After the decision was given, Sky showed the still image of the ball touching the green.
The point.
Yeah, the point. Why didn't he look at that still image? Like, he looked at it slowly. Why not stop it at the point? The decision's then made. It wouldn't have changed the game. It wouldn't have changed the result. Rovers would have still gone on and won that game. No doubts about that. But it's just this. Again, the referees, 1 week we're seeing something given, next week we're not, and it's getting really frustrating.
Yeah, I agree. It was very unfortunate for them, wasn't it?
Well, he's just had a corker took off him, hasn't he?
Well, yeah, because it was a superb try, and I'm going to say it was a try because obviously I think it was. But I think me and you spoke about, Dean, in the group, that the frustrations around how quick it was given that he'd spent so much time on the other decisions.
Yep.
Which was very, very frustrating. Even as a Rovers fan in that East Stand, at the top of the East Stand, and like people are going, no try, no try, no try, and I was like, that's a try.
When it was that quick, I thought it's because the screen was going to say try.
It's the thing is you've seen tries like that given where they've stopped it because the initial contact with the ground is like the tip of the ball and it's rolled onto the white.
That's all it needs, isn't it?
The problem is, for me, is I don't care whether it's given or not. It didn't make a difference to the game. But what I do care about is, once again, inconsistency from the video.
Agreed.
Say one more thing on it before we move on. Just because I thought it was a really good suggestion. Somebody online said, there are simple things we can do to make our game better on the eye, easier for new fans to join. Why is the in-goal lines, why are they white when we play over white ball? They don't have to be.
Pink lines.
Right, why not? I think the suggestion online was red. You're clearly going to see separation, just like when a player's wearing
red
pink
and green
boots.
for colourblind people.
Played on a football pitch with blue lines yesterday.
But that was fun.
But do you know what I mean? Like, just a simple. I'm not saying that's the exact thing to do.
Yeah.
But it can be that simple to make it easier, and you can clearly see. And then you maybe wouldn't have this debate, and maybe refs can make quick decisions. So there are simple things we can do to make it better.
Agreed.
Anyways, up the Rovers.
On to Wembley via Catalan.
Well, before that, we got Susan wants to play the little thing that we recorded about the sponsors.
Is this before he jumps off there?
No. Go on.
This week's episode is sponsored by Comscaff.
Commercial Scaffolding, or Comscaff, are a Hull-based company formed over 30 years ago.
They offer a safe and professional scaffolding service nationwide.
For services and enquiries, you can go to comscaff.co.uk or call 01482 782 181.
That took ages, that honestly felt like that took about 5 minutes.
You're telling me I'm not allowed to ramble about Rovers for half an hour because I've got to do that?
Sit in silence for an hour.
Right, come on. We got 10 minutes, apparently. That
16
did not take 32 seconds.
Yeah, and don't go over.
We won't, because we'll get told off.
Yeah, so Susan's obviously done that wrong by about 6 seconds. But whatever. Let's talk about Hull. And I was quite happy.
I was. What I remember.
Yeah. I'm not gonna
I can attest to that.
We got through a few, didn't we, Craig?
Hang on. You're not allowed to talk about this till you've settled your barbell. Please go downstairs and settle your barbell.
Our barbell's settled, mate.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go on and rave about this. it was a good win. It was nice to get a 0 in.
Our first one since 2017.
Yeah, first 0 in since
Against Catalan.
2017.
Ironically, against Catalans.
Yeah. But it was against Catalan in the way that Catalan are playing, and you kind of expected a win.
Do you know how bad Catalan's record is? This is so the whole fans and Karen hating me. So obviously,
Do you want me to read it out?
they are 122-0 down in the last 3 games. They are only the second team in Super League history to do 3 games in a row where they're nilled. Joel Tompkins is the first interim head coach in history in Super League to lose his first 2 games to 0. And the only other team that did it was Wakefield for their opening 3 games in the 2023 season. They was nilled all 3 games. Now, that I think Hull played really, really well. So I know people are going to hear the first bit of me slagging off, but there is something seriously wrong at Catalan, and there was something seriously wrong with the effort of the players on the field on Saturday.
I've got. We're not going to get carried away with this win. I've got that written down here. But for us, from our point, it's still a huge 2 points. We lost 4 on the bounce. Now we've come into 2 away games, and righted a lot of wrongs. I think in them performances, and to boot, we lost Doro with what looks like a fractured eye socket, fractured cheekbone, something like that.
Gone for a scan, hasn't he? He's gone for an X-ray.
I think he had a scan in France for fit to fly, something like that, and he's having scans when he gets back here. They're probably done by now, and obviously we was without Asiata and Cust, so we had a lot of chopping and changing to do. So still to nil anybody is no mean feat.
That was my most impressive thing for me. I loved how you all played as a unit. Pains me to say it. I do think that to turn up against any team, but the way you played as a team, something you guys have been saying for a while now, that you're getting that team unit, there's no more toxic nature in the club. You showed that. There was a lack of these silly penalties you've been giving away. There was still a few and a few errors, but more like a normal game, not like you was doing more. But the way that you adjusted to not having Asiata and Cust, like, you still attacked well. You still took your chances.
We looked a bit. I'm going to use that word.
You did.
We looked a bit clunky. And you could tell we was missing Asiata as that link, but Aidan slotted in, I think, very well. Not as good, but very well.
Did a good job.
Considering he hasn't played for a few weeks as well. And it was a pleasing on the eye. There was we looked deadly at times. We took chances and we sniffed out. And like I said, took our chances. Every time we was presented with an opportunity, we took it.
Yeah, you said there, obviously not getting carried away, which is exactly the right thing to do. But how many times have we said, you can only play what's in front of you?
Yeah.
You can't play something that's not there. You've played what's in front of you. And Catalan, individually, I think you said it about Saints, Jimmy, as well, they have very, very good players in their squad. All right, yeah, they're not playing as a team unit at the moment.
You look at them 2 teams that we've played this weekend, Saints and Catalan, we would... I can't remember what exactly positions we picked. I all think we picked them in the top 4, top 5.
I can tell you what I picked.
It was a Saints fan online that said, I truly believe that our squad is better than Rovers' squad this on Friday night, but their coaching and the way they play as a unit is so much better than ours, and that's why, like, man for man, there's not many players I'd swap, but the way they're coached. That's true of what you did. That's true of the coaching that you've got from Cartwright. Like, man to man...
Carty Senior,
the man that never sits down. Man to man, there are definitely better players in their team on paper and records and history and so on. But what he's doing as a coach and bringing your team together, which he's proved a lot of the season, despite some of your inconsistent form, was there on Saturday night for all to see. And that's why you can have these games like this, like we did on Friday, where it doesn't matter what the opposition is. You play what's in front of you, but if you play as a unit and you play for each other...
You can see as well, I don't know if any of you have seen it, some of the videos that the media team have put out from the weekend with the interaction with the fans and a couple of behind the scenes things, just how tight knit, I know what you're going to get at one of these things, but how tight knit everyone is. You mentioned something yesterday when I popped a certain picture up.
The squad photo in front of
celebrating the cup
fans,
final under the sticks of a squad photo.
Which I see as a different
to
point.
the side because the fans was in the corner.
I see it different. It's making the fans feel a part of it. They've travelled all that way, and it's just great.
Banter.
I know it is, but it's only banter. I just think we're making a conscious effort to make the fans feel a part of it, and it's definitely showing.
End of the day, the lifeblood of your club, aren't they?
Yeah, of course they are. But we haven't felt like that
you haven't
for a while. But now we definitely do.
They're righting those wrongs of the past 3 or 4 seasons.
It's just great to see. Long may it continue. It's great to see.
So talking about lifeblood, life and soul, if you want to call it that.
Yeah.
Do you want to touch on to the lad and dad again?
The lad and dad who I'm loving at the minute, the pair of them.
Yeah.
He is David Litten. He is becoming the life and soul of our team at the minute. He's just got so much energy, and he's like, if something could be going wrong in the game, but he will bounce around that pitch and try and pick the other player up if they've made a mistake, and all teams have that. You have that, other teams have it, but he's just making a conscious effort just to make sure he brings everybody up if anyone's down, and keeps everybody up if everyone's up. And
You know why that is, though, don't you? Not even a sarcastic joke or anything. You know why that is? Because he understands what them 3 crowns mean on the shirt.
Yeah, he really does.
Did you see his interview about Wembley?
Yes.
I was going to bring that up in the Wembley section.
No. So let's bring it up in the Wembley section because I've not seen it.
Oh, right. Wembley section.
Says he loves Rovers, can't wait to play for us. Shit, sorry.
But it's not just that he had a very good all-round game, fully deserved his man of the
He
match.
has done for the last 6 weeks.
Yeah, he has. He's just getting better and better. And I think you put it on the notes. He will be our 4 next year. He'll have that 4 share, and if he carries on going the way he is, thoroughly deserved as well. His assist for Marty's try, brilliant. Picked the ball up, gone. But he's finished for that try. It wasn't just I'm going to put the ball down. He had to guide the ball down from about half a metre up in the air with a leg right next to it. Yeah, it's no easy feat that. So, but
that was him showing desire again. Do you remember that try against us? Was it against us? No, it was against Warrington when you blew him away before half-time. And it was just pure desire. It was a bit of luck to the ball, but the desire, it was that again. And he plays with that.
It was one of them make your own luck ones that way try.
And he does it all the time. And I do think that you've got a potential superstar there with the way he plays and the effort. You know, he's a bit rusty in some ways. He's still learning, but he is getting better and better. And I think you have got a very good player.
With the way he bounces around, he might let that affect his game, because some players do get overexcited, shall we say. But he doesn't. I feel like he's doing it at the right times. He's getting excited when there's a mistake made or there's a try scored. But for his game, he still looks like he's coming across real level-headed. And I think that's to do with the coaching as well, keeping him grounded. The other player we need to talk about is Zak, the dad.
I love him. Considering as a player, he's one of them that you hate, don't you? If he don't play for you, you hate him. And I have for many, many years. I wouldn't say I've hated him. I did. I've disliked him quite a lot for a long time, and now he's wearing black and white. He's showing to me why, as a player, as a character, he is such a likeable person to have in your team.
There was an article about him at the end because he was wearing a bucket hat, wasn't he? And all the Catalan fans were mobbing him. And there was a bit of an article, I think it might have been from Barry Mack, talking about, saying that's because he's won everything there is to win. And this guy's been around a lot of teams and he's had a checkered past. But he's well loved and well liked because he's given people impressive rugby league memories on the field. And I've been the first one to talk about. I've been asked multiple times on this. When do you know that you can trust him? And I said from day one, he's got to do a full season. But he does continue to prove it to you week in, week out.
Week in, week out, he's proven.
And you can't ask for any more.
Yep.
But it was strange. The Catalan fans were mobbing him, which was very bizarre. Like, I'd get it if it was your fans, but as he was going down the tunnel, it was a bunch of Catalan fans were mobbing him, and he's never played for them, to my recollection.
No, he hadn't. Yeah, there were, because I can't remember who it was. I think it was Dan, Old Daily Mail. He was saying that the media entrance is the same entrance that the players use, and he was saying at Catalan you kind of get a feel for what the players get because you're going in the same way. And yeah, he just said, you get that feeling that there might be this passionate kind of group in the stadium where they're just like all behind Catalan, but as soon as you get out of that, and they're waiting for the players to come out. It doesn't matter whether you're wearing black and white in this instance or wearing a Catalan shirt. He said they'll show you the respect and the love that you deserve, and apparently Zak was front and centre of that. So it's good to see. It's good to see him around someone like Davy Litten, because it definitely comes across to me like he is coaching in a way, Davy, to be the man, not necessarily the player, but the man that he probably could have been and maybe should have been in some instances.
Learn from my mistakes.
Yeah.
Do what I say, not what I do.
Hopefully the man that he is now.
Yeah.
If he's overcome all these mistakes of the past and he's going to prove all the doubters wrong, that's what he's coaching to be.
They've definitely got You can see they've got a close relationship, so yeah, hopefully he's rubbing off the right way.
Jimmy just mentioned the media then. Can I just mention one thing? How disappointed the pair of you were that the Catalan media guy didn't get to say essay.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Dean brought it up before the game that if SA passed the ball,
Get in.
if SA passed the ball to SA and then scored a try in France, it would be SA for the try. It would have been quite
I
fun.
was fuming it was Doro passed the ball for his try.
Doesn't have the same ring to it, does it?
One more player, Will Price.
Yeah,
He's ball in hand. He was sensational. 2 world-class finishes. I don't care what anyone says. If we've been picky, a little shaky under the eyeball. But I don't want to take away. I don't want to take away from how good he was on the night. There is stuff to work on. He's still a young kid, but if you can come up with moments of magic like that and then start to build on that and make it more regular, he's a special player in there. We've just got to coach him the right way, like we were doing with David Litten.
what's their winger playing centre? What's his name?
Kotrick.
Yeah, made him look daft. Genuinely made him look daft, and that kid's played how long in the NRL? Don't get me wrong. I know that you're going to come out.
How can anyone be shocked that he's good going forward? We've said that from day one.
Yeah.
He left the NRL because he couldn't defend, right? And then against these, I'm not taking away from his 2 tries. They were fantastic. I mean, you did say before we started recording that you could have scored one of them.
The second try, genuine. Like
You was never that fast.
It was just
I
open
bloody
for-
was. I was faster than you
He
ever
did say he
was.
scored it against Catalan.
No, I disagree with the second one. You turned around and said 2 world-class tries. I think 1 world-class try and 1 where he just had to show pace because the Catalans line was just wide
and
open.
stepped and left the guy on his ass. Yeah, that's easy.
I
innit?
disagree with the second
my
one.
point
It was a
is
good
that
try.
people-
It was a good try.
My
Second
point
one.
being with him, he's had a fantastic game. He scored 2 great tries, 1 fantastic, 1 great, whatever you want to cut it up. There was vision, particularly for the first one.
Yeah.
It was almost like a killer blow for them
Well, he
as
could
well.
have just took the tackle. It was on the
Of
Uber.
course he could. He did fantastic there. But we are talking about a game here where scored 2 tries, made a load of meters, made 3 errors, 2 of them 2 knock-ons, even though the commentators tried to deny that when he made the second one in the second half. Said it's his first error of the game. But no, it isn't.
won't.
Watch the game. He only had to make 7 tackles, so there was no big cudgeling at him or anyone this week, against a team that hasn't scored a point for now 3 weeks and 2 weeks before that. So it's just that tempering of expectations. And I said this before
I said as well.
before you 2 turned up, and I was going to call out all social media fans talking rubbish online. Told you we signed a superstar. He'll be Man of Steel next year. That's FC fans on Facebook, and you're like, right, this is why you're getting. You've had such an inconsistent season, right? And that's been great for us to watch, but your ups and downs have been wild.
I don't think we have been. I won't say we've been inconsistent. We've had a few downs, but
You look at a performance like on Saturday night and the way that you well beat a poorish team, but you had to do it as a unit, had to do it as a team, and you deserve all the plaudits for nilling someone, for doing it in Catalan away from home in the heat, and doing it as a unit without giving stupid penalties away, right? An unlucky injury in that, but no penalty points, no disciplinary to go and visit. You compare that to a game like Huddersfield, which is less than a month ago. You tell me they are yin and yang, complete opposites. That's inconsistency.
a couple of downs, I said. You said we've been really inconsistent all season.
I think you have from week to week what you're getting. I don't think you've been able to string together a solid month of performances where you go, yeah, they're definitely top 6 material. In between, you've had ones that have let you down.
I think we had.
I disagree.
Stop shaking your hand at me. I think we had a strong start to the season, even with some losses. I still think it was a strong start compared to last season, which I'm going to get in trouble for mentioning. I think the Huddersfield game was a massive kick in the nuts, but I also think that's been rectified based on the last 3 performances, even with that loss against Leeds. Just going back to Will Price, I agree with what you've said here. Sensational with ball in hand on Saturday. I still think there's a lot of work there. I think anyone that's coming out and saying that he's going to get Man of Steel next year is either joking or needs to give their head a wobble, because you can forgive a couple of errors in a game in the same way, and I mentioned it on Saturday, didn't I? The same way that Dufty does for wire. You can forgive a couple of errors under the eyeball, things like that. He needs a lot of work defensively. And when I say defensively, I mean tackling. We had a chat about this yesterday, me and Dean. His entire defensive game, overall, is quite good. In the way that he leads our defence, he guides our defensive players and sets our defensive line up from fullback. I think the way that his vision, that he sets that up, I think it's absolutely brilliant. But his tackling needs a lot of work. I'm not going to say anything other than that about his tackling because that's just the way it is.
And I'm not trying to take away from what was a great game by him. It's just tempering them expectations. I think you've got a player in him. Said this when he first joined. He could terrorise Rovers for years to come. If he's a player that sticks around, a player that continues to grow. Well, one good performance against a poor defence doesn't make him a player that wins Man of Steel next year.
Describe him as a rough diamond. There is a special player in there. We've just got to polish him up and
Same with Doro.
I trust that Cartwright last and it's not that bad. The rest of the coaching team will get that out of him. I really do because I think he's got the right mentality.
Right. Done. Oh, she's having an issy fit behind that camera. What?
Go on.
Stop breaking the wall.
Yeah, stop breaking the wall. Right, go on then. Tell me when. Go. Cool. Right, so it's the big one this weekend, isn't it? Warrington take on OKR in the Challenge Cup final at Wembley. Who's taking on the silverware? Is the big question. Will Wire shock us all, or will Rovers end their 40-year wait? Kickoffs at 3 p.m, and as usual, you can catch it on the big screen at Tribal if you aren't making the trip down to the Capo, which you should be. Following that one,
doing it?
What?
Making the trip down to the Capo.
If you're a Rovers fan, you should.
There we go.
The following week, so Friday the 13th, the Gallaghers will be performing at 9 p.m. For those of you that memorise the fixtures list, though, you may notice that collides with both FC and Rovers fixtures that week. But I have been assured by Amy that there is a plan. I think they're showing both the games, but one's upstairs, one's outside. But the main thing is the Gallaghers Oasis tribute. And lastly, if you're a pass holder for either team, remember to bring your pass and get your 15% discount on any bill that has both food and drink. And then Susan's pointing at me, so I guess I have to say something now. News.
I was going to say we didn't know if it was news or questions first.
Well, you got given a load of pieces of paper before we started, so I'm assuming that it should have pointed at you.
They just remind us, don't talk too much, don't slag off Price, don't talk over the whole section. I'm just going through them all.
Pluggery Doro for Challenge Cup squad.
No, some news then from around the world of Rugby League. Like I said, a new section we're going to keep throwing in each week now. Try and pull out some of the biggest and best stories that we can. So, first one coming up then, quite a big story that's hit the media the last couple of days. They've announced the honours this year, and there are no knighthoods for Rugby League players once again. There has not been a Rugby League player knighted for 130 years now. And it sort of begs the question of...
Ever then?
So there's never been a Rugby League player knighted. There have been multiple Rugby Union ones, including people like Sir Clive Woodward after England won the 2003 Rugby Union World Cup. So there are examples. I've seen people online trying to argue that Rugby Unions are an underfunded, overlooked sport just like we are, and it's complete rubbish. So the question sort of around this is there anyone who is deserving of a knighthood?
Sinfield.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think the first one that comes to mind is Sinfield. He was recognised last year. I believe it was his OBE last year, so the Order of the British Empire. I believe this is a man who's now raised over £10 million for the M&D charity, and you'd like to think that in time that he would be receiving one.
£10,000?
Over £10 million.
Oh, there we go. I was going to say.
Sorry. I've seen a lot of talk on this. I don't want to jump down your throats with these answers, but I'll give you two names that have come up repeatedly after Sinfield. So the first one is Billy Boston. Absolute legend, has obviously a statue of the man outside of the Wigan Stadium. The man is still alive now, knocking about at 90. He is an absolute hero. Achieved some of the greatest feats in Rugby League they can be to achieve for club and country. And There was actually a petition that started last year, I believe, from Wigan that needs the signatures to get in front of House of Parliament to propose that this man gets a knighthood. So there's a bit of a question over him. The one that I wanted to bring up though, Clive Sullivan. Clive Sullivan was the first black man to captain an England national team in this country. Yes.
Wow. Of any sport.
Yes.
Whoa.
So that's not that even sporting wise, right? That is a cultural. That is a full change in the dynamic and the history of this country and the way a portion of this country and people in this country have been treated in years gone by, and how the world changed and how brave and how big it was and the things that have changed. And this person truly was, a giant amongst men. And for me, him, Billy Boston, Sinfield are the three biggest names. And these aren't my ideas. These are ones that have been online as well. I'm struggling to pick names that are more deserving than any of them three.
My 2 pence worth on this is the only one of them three currently that's got any chance at all. And I'm not saying in any way that I don't think that Billy Boston or Clive Sullivan are deserving or were deserving in their time. The only one really is Sinfield. Now the reason I say that is because what's Clive Sullivan or Billy Boston done recently? And that's a genuine question. It's a genuine question. The reason I say that is because if you're not in the media or the face, or you're not currently doing anything, then you're not going to get anything. So I'm not turning around and saying that what Clive Sullivan did, which is phenomenal, is not deserving. It is deserving, but he did it 50 odd years ago. If he was ever going to get anything, he would have got it 50 odd years ago.
I think he passed early in life, didn't he? So maybe obviously that's gone against him. So
well, he can't be knighted now anyway then. You lose United when you die.
I didn't know if posthumously you can be knighted though.
No, because you can't be a member of any of the orders dead. It's like, don't want to bring it up, but when people were saying that Jimmy Savile should have had his knighthood taken away from him, they couldn't because he was no longer a member of whatever he was part of because he was dead.
So I presume to this point then, especially a lot of media online, this is probably more of a miss from the past. So now it's more of a focus on Billy Boston. Sinfield currently. Just a point on this, not to get too deep and political about it. One of the issues with this is we are a northern game. We live in this northern corridor of the M62, we know that. Only 6% of the higher honours go to the north of England on average, and only 4% of honours given in these honour lists from the royal family and the government combined go to people from working class backgrounds. So you stick rugby league in the middle of that, and you know the struggles we've had as a sport and how
a northern working class game. What chance have we got?
Prime example of that. An old man walking around his garden. He got a knighthood. Yes, he raised some money for charity. Now I'm not taking anything away.
It charity, did it?
Well, no, not by all accounts.
Ooh, politics.
Well, he's not wrong.
But Sinfield's raised massive amounts like he has. Plus, he's had the career that he had. He lifted a treble, captained his,
and at the end of the day,
his team.
The things he's done to raise that money have pushed the human body to its absolute limits.
At the end of the day,
what more does he have
with
to do?
Sinfield, a hospital will be built to tackle M&D and associated illnesses, and it will be because of his efforts, and many other people amongst him and are surrounding supporting him, but it will be because of his efforts. So this could be the chance to right that wrong, and that hopefully in a few years' time we will see that with Sinfield.
I hope so.
Moving on then to get through some of the more news. One that's still a bit of an outstanding question around player welfare, something that was mentioned by Willie Peters only a week or two ago, that he'd reached out to the RFL to get clarification on the playing minutes per player. So something that came in a couple of years ago, if you recall. There's different rules for under 22s and over 22s, and he'd reached forwards and backs as well. And it means that as we get towards the business end of the season, the teams need to start looking a little bit closer on the players and what minutes they've got available and when they can play them, when they need to rest them. And it was mentioned in the Hull and Catalan game about youngsters like Liam Martin, who was pretty much played every minute.
Lewis Martin.
What's that say then?
Liam.
Yeah. Lewis Martin. So yeah,
Sorry, you called him Reese last week, so
I just miss Reese so much. Yeah, just to point that if you guys have seen anything, or there seems to be no clarification, no communication for the RFL at this moment in time.
I forgot it was a thing.
Well, let's be honest.
Yeah, me too.
We don't get a lot of clarity off, and we're still waiting for clarification on this quota situation, and so I'm not surprised we're still waiting on clarity on it. It's the RFL. I do think it's a bollocks rule, though, if I'm honest. If the player and the physios and the medical staff from the club think a player's fit enough to play, that's what you should go by.
The problem is, though, I think there are still going to be instances, there probably were instances recently where players were played because there's no one else. Do you know what I mean? Like, instead of giving that youngster a chance out of the academy, you're going to burn out a player that's done X amount of minutes. I do think there's good reasoning behind it. I do think there's good logic behind it. But the problem is, it's, as you said, it's the RFL. So no one knows.
It's the implementation.
We've got enough
isn't it?
medical procedures now with the head-eye things and like all this and that. And your career's short enough it is. And now you're getting someone upstairs saying you can only play a certain amount of minutes a season.
Probably someone who's never actually played the game.
I think the point of it is, though, is that you can extend.
Yeah, the argument there is for a young player like Martin is that if they do this until he's over 22 or whatever age the cut-off is, they can extend his playing time by a season or two and prolong his earning potential, his health in later life. It's the same as, again, not to get too deep on it, it's the same about the ongoing litigation around head injuries from previous seasons of rugby that's been led by some ex-players around concussions. It's all about the science behind it and how we move forward as a game to protect players in the long term. And so there is thought and there is reason behind it. The problem again comes from lack of clarity and lack of communication from the RFL.
I think, correct me if I'm wrong, all fans, I think it was Jordan Lane was a minute under.
Yeah, he was last season. Yeah. But we probably found that out after the season finished because it's the RFL.
One more to talk about, moving on. I'm going to leave a bit of a point about the state of origin for another day because it's something that we can pick up.
Never happened.
It's a big topic, talking about players that have played in the Super League. They've also played state of origin, obviously off the back of last week's game, but we'll probably pick that up in the off-season or if not in a week where there's not too much to talk about. So the final one then, talking about attendances. So across round 13, across the Super League, the figures were down again in total for attendances. We had a question from Craig Franklin, or more a point I should say, just a comment, that came in to say both Hull teams are topping the charts again. What are we doing that no one else is doing? And again, that can be quite a big topic, but I think there's some simple answers to it. I think you almost touched upon one really well earlier. Good travelling fans to Catalan, and at the end you're engaging with the fans, so you didn't just go into the sheds. Mm-hmm. You know, these simple things like that are a part of it as well, and it helps when your teams are doing well. Making the group feel as one.
I think Hull's an anomaly, to be fair, because you look at the last couple of years, no disrespect to the previous owner of Hull FC, but over the last 3 or 4 years maybe, not a lot was done right, but we still turned up. So I think it's just in our blood, and it should be in terms of like places like Wigan and Saints, and you would have thought the home of Rugby League, Huddersfield, you would have thought, but obviously it's not. I think it's just in our blood. I think it is just the way that we are brought up.
It's not that I don't disagree. I think that's probably a part of it, but if we talk about Rovers, from what I can talk about, yes, a big element is that we're doing well. A Wire fan online was talking about, they remember their stadium being packed out to the rafters, and now it's not, because times ebb and flow. We've seen it with both teams. Our teams, I mean, you see it with every team, but what are Rovers doing apart from being a very good team at the minute and threatening to win something and putting on good rugby? All the community stuff we do, all the stuff we do in and around the stands before a game, Craven Street, the entertainment, getting fans involved.
Social media is a big one as well.
You know, and that's something your club, you discussed frustrations in the past, they could do more.
And we've had massive improvements in
but
that.
But now
on
they're
and off
starting
the
to
field
do something.
Yeah.
And so that's a big part of it as well. And I think we shouldn't overlook that as clubs. We are community minded, and being community minded and reaching out and spending time getting feedback and working with the community and the fans does help that as well massively. So yes, we are sometimes glutton for punishment. We want to go and see our team week in, week out no matter what. But also we do have two teams in a very sort of loving sort of city that we love and hate each other across the west and east of Ard. But at the same time, there is still that we do it because we support each other and we support our club. So there's a lot that goes into it. I think that's why we keep seeing high attendances.
Yeah.
So, moving on from news.
I had one,
Couple
but
of-
Susan nearly had an aneurysm. So.
Throw it, please throw it in. I ignore him.
You're a nurse. You can fix him.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm not.
Who do you
I'm
support
first
this week,
aid
by the
trained,
way?
though. Oh no, it's because I've been at work. Just a really, really quick one. I don't know if anybody's seen it, but former Oldham player Mick Martindale was found deceased over the weekend. He played the back end of the 90s for Oldham, and the quote says he wore the ruffian shirt with pride. So I just wanted to give a shout out to all connected to him and the Oldham club. So
Yeah,
just wanted to
sending our
raise a
best
bit of
wishes.
awareness around that. So
Good shout.
Yeah, definitely. Couple of questions.
oh, it's back.
Only a couple.
I just want to point out that I'm so disappointed in Callum. So for
You know,
those
I
that are
had a
new
message.
listeners, new viewers, there was a parasite that used to.
A
Just-
loyal fan who he loved very dearly.
Nearly spat me drink everywhere then.
Oh, he's definitely rating in next week, isn't he?
Yeah.
No, a friend of Craig that kind of tried his best to support us when we first started up, and it was question after question after question, and he literally became a thorn in my side. And we've put a tweet out there asking for questions, and nothing.
It's not.
He's not on holiday because I saw him tweeting about Hull City earlier.
I've not even had a message off him for a while. To be fair,
it's a bit upsetting, but
He's given up.
me one maybe
Fed up with
has,
you.
yeah.
Yeah. So we've got one from James72. Is that a 9 or a 4? Don't know. On Instagram. We've sort of touched on this really. Is the negative attention on Will Price from the Hull KR fans because they are worried how good he can be for FC? Well, I can't answer that one.
I'm not worried about how good he can be. I think I've said multiple times, I think he is a good player and can grow into a fantastic player. I don't doubt, I said it 10 minutes ago, he might terrorise Rovers in years to come if he carries on. The negativity is because that's what we do as clubs. Like, at the end of the day, Mikey still gets hit. Mikey still gets slander. There are still Hull fans that deny he was even a Man of Steel contender last year, let alone that he won it. I get people turning around last year and saying, yeah, Bevan Friends should have won. Fine, have that argument, but you can't deny he was one of the best players in the competition last year and what he led us to do. Oh, we didn't win a grand final, but it led us to second in the league and led us to a grand final. And that's, with Price, it's the same thing. He's showing flashes of brilliance. And he's going to get negative attention because he does stupid things. He lets Kudrow walk all over him. Step him, probably the oldest players in the league. He shouts every game, he's always whining. And then you have a game like this week where he shows how good he can be in attack. All Rovers fans that want to go on social media and shout about it, all they're going to point out is you're playing a weak Catalan side that can't even play as a team. So it's not that we're worried about him. It's more that if you're getting conversation around a player, you're probably doing something right.
Yeah.
Like when we talk about players that do let you down, when we talk about Fash who hasn't done anything for your club for over a year, that's more just to wind you up. But when we mention people like Liam Knight, who started developing into a great forward, when we give Leon Price, his son, Will Price, a bit of rubbish.
Well done.
What
Well
a style out! It's because they are showing something good. And I've always said from day one, make us 1 and 2 clubs in the league. As long as we're 1 and you're number 2, that's the best thing we can have for this city and we can have for rugby league.
We've all had them players. You've had it. You've got quite a hatred for a certain Mark Sneed. We've had Jake Connor.
Jake
You've
Connor,
had-
Kate Yeaman.
Yeah, Ben
it goes
Kane,
on.
Mikey now. We've all had them players that we all love to hate. But it's because them players are doing something right for that opposition team and you want to have a little dig at anything they do wrong. We've all done
How
it.
has no one mentioned Clint Luton in that?
Clint Luton.
Newton. Sorry, I know you're going to Luton tomorrow. Clint Newton. Like, how did he not get mentioned in that? Out of all the Rovers players, even
you really dislike
Charlie,
him?
like, yeah. I hated
I
him
met
more
him
than
once
anyone.
and he was a really nice guy.
Absolute gentleman.
Well, yeah,
he's a
probably
really
is.
nice guy.
Yeah, I
He's a
imagine
prick on
he
the
is.
pitch against Hull, but
Well, mean machine, leave him alone.
he was,
no.
he met him out once, really nice guy. He just said, you just support the wrong team, son.
I do think on that, again, where's that question come from? He's played, 5 games for you now?
And he's already getting under your skin.
And now that's 1 game and he's sent an email in. What's his highlights going to be? Kudrow stepping him and then him scoring 2 tries himself for France? him dropping a ball against Rovers? I'm not sure what we're getting at here.
I think with
It's
no
a
disrespect,
question.
with no disrespect to the
question.
listener stroke viewer that sent the question in, I think it is a bit.
I'm also doing it so they can write on the comments on YouTube saying I've got under Josh's skin.
It's the
I
same
do
as
know.
it's the same as anything in rugby league when it involves two rival clubs in it. I think the question was sent in to try and get under your skins, maybe, like, because
Did that.
yeah,
I didn't get under man.
Not really does it,
To
Craig?
be fair, yeah, for some reason he got under my
He
skin.
takes,
on
it,
the
he takes it on for
I've
you.
always disliked him. I just don't like how he wants all the time.
It's only
you
him
were
that
saying
gets on
Leon
me.
there, so I was stood down there on Saturday, and
go on.
I was stood there on Saturday when he made that break for that try. I was like, "Go on, Lee, Will."
In between jumping up
Price,
and down
by the
on
way,
my
I was jumping up and down. Yeah.
becoming Hull's new number one supporter because he was sat mingling with a crowd in Lee and
in Leeds.
flew out to
Did he fly out?
he flew out to Catalan and he was sat in with he won in Leeds. He was sat in a different stand, wasn't he?
He was still sat with the
instead of
away
stood.
fans in the seated section.
Seen him on Sky a couple of times and
Yeah.
around the Hull fans are watching. I think Leon actually deserves a little shout out on here for just celebrating 2 years sober. Made an adjustment in his life because he felt that's what needed to be done. He's never felt happier and healthier, and I think that's
Fair play.
great to see.
Fair
Good
play
on
to
you.
him. Enjoyed seeing him sing Old Faithful when the crowd were getting into it as well. That was good.
The Saints fans were singing Old Faithful in the car park on Friday night.
Just don't make sense, does it? Rugby
Just like-
league in general.
just
This
like
is
the-
why no one will get knighted.
The whole fans
was
in
watching-
the
talking
whole
to
fans
Saints
in the
fans.
Ret were singing since 1985, watching our game.
And I heard there was stuff online that your fans were singing about us at the end of the game on Friday.
I told you that on
Yeah,
Saturday, didn't I?
Just want to call that out, by the way, for anyone that watches. If you're at a Rovers game watching, for example, Rovers and Saints, and you're singing anything about Hull FC, get a life. And for the same, for the Hull fans, if you're at Hull versus Lee was the one, the last game where we saw it. We were at the Lee game and people started singing about, get your mum's gun and all that, whatever. Shoot the Rover scum. Grow up, like just
did the
get a
full song
life.
and then said grow up.
It proper gets under my skin because we're not playing Rovers.
It did me on Friday night. I spoke to Dean about it on Saturday. We played Que Sera Sera at the end of the game on Friday, which obviously
Why?
we're going to Wembley.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you
Well
not
done.
know? You've been under a rock.
He's asked to borrow a Rover shirt from me and come. You know he's a big
Oh,
Rovers
right,
fan.
okay.
I bought
yeah.
a wire shirt. What are you on about?
But yeah, they played
is
that,
something Hull fans
and then
love
there
doing.
was people around us that was singing that version of that song. It's like, no, it's played because we're going to Wembley.
Yeah.
Get them out of your head. They're nothing to do with us unless we're playing them.
Yeah.
Get a grip
It's like
of your
I
life.
told you on the way
that
here.
gets under my
I
skin.
had a conversation with a friend of mine who's a Rovers fan, and the first thing he said, "Are you looking forward to your cup final on Saturday?" No, it's your cup final. Don't bring us into it. Concentrate on your team.
I've
It
actually
riles
been
me.
doing
Riles
some
me.
reflection on this because I don't know if it's because we're in the middle of Hull and obviously we're doing Rugby League podcast talking about it. I'm looking at more online, especially social media, to see the rubbish. We are really bad both ways. The biggest comeback any Rovers or Hull fan on social media's got nowadays is to post something, and the moment they get a bite, haha, we live rent free in your head.
Yeah.
And it's just back and forth.
I
back and
mentioned
forth.
that
Let's
rent-free
see who
last
can get the
season.
most likes.
Yeah, that honestly, that,
Get in the bin.
especially if someone posts some rubbish that don't get enough like bites or enough laughing faces or
Yeah.
whatever it is, are in your head.
So you were
God's
saying about
sake.
Saints singing Old Faithful. There's a guy, I think his name's Paul Hicks, and he's sharing on YouTube. He's sharing a load of old videos from like Dewsbury versus Batley in 1989 and all like so many different games. And I watched a game, Hull at St Helens 2006, when we went to Knowsley Road and beat him. Paul Cook scored the drop goal. And you can hear, because at Knowsley Road, the camera was underneath their main stand, where the chanting come from, and all you hear was, All KR, All KR. I'm like, they're not even in Super League, because it was 2006, and you're playing Hull FC and you're chanting All KR, but yeah.
So just
Do you want to talk
well,
about
yeah,
it?
I just got it
Yeah,
straight
go
up.
on,
So
you.
we was just talking
Susan's
about,
just sent us a message in the group chat.
about fans and singing about other clubs and stuff like this. Hull FC fan, I believe, because he says Hull FC fan here, believe it or not. James Peterson. I wonder if it's the same James who sent the question in. So if it is, hello. What?
Comes in for quiz in
Comes in
travel.
for quiz.
Yeah.
Oh, well, shout out to James then.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
shout out to James.
Well done for
So he's
supporting
actually
travel.
posted in the Wire Barmy Army Facebook group Hull FC fan here. Been walking around Hull in a wire top the past week. Good luck at Wembley, boys. And then a photo of himself posing in a mirror in a Warrington shirt and then a yellow and blue love art.
I
Got
did
a
see
beefy tricep though, hasn't he?
the 2017 Cup final.
just-
A
Get
Rovers
a
fan
grip.
with a Wigan shirt on with a Rovers like tracky top above that.
I mean, you
I
just
mean,
got
like-
to remember that when you lost in the grand
Oh, yeah,
final
he put a
last year,
Wigan-
I did turn up
No,
for the
sorry, he put a
podcast
Wigan
in
shirt
a
on.
Yeah, but that's
Wigan
different,
shirt.
innit? That's
You'll never
Between
beat
us
the Hull
and-
fan that went to Wembley 2 years ago for the Challenge Cup final dressed in leopard print. He still comes up all the time.
He's a big Shania Twain fan.
It's just
It was him because he's a big
I
Shania
love
Twain
Shania
How
fan.
pitch did you get them, by the way?
Yeah, it doesn't actually. I don't sing along. It doesn't bother me as much as it bothers you when people do that, but it does tickle me.
It proper riles me
I
up.
stood up and shouted at Lee. I stood up and shouted. I said, "We're not fucking playing
Picture
them."
him. Stop singing, everyone! Stop singing.
Yeah, he stood up and shouted, "Shoot them!"
Right, come on then. Let's move
One
on.
more,
Oh, we've got two more.
Well, I've got one.
All right. well,
OKR shirts. What will Josh and Craig wear to Wembley? Current or heritage?
None.
Okay.
I'm going to wear the same outfit I've worn for every game this season, except one.
Mankini.
Which was a Wigan game, and we lost. We've won every other game. I'm going to wear my Rovers training shorts from this season, my orange
In case
football shirt.
In case there's an injury, you need to go on.
That's it, yeah. But
And then you've got the
shorts
IVs
from-
ready, haven't you? 'Cause
Yeah,
I've
that's
seen
it,
how
yeah.
bright
I've got
that
my
shirt
orange
is.
with my initials on it and everything. And so shout out to SLC United, raising money for local charities. And my retro hoodie. And these trainers, a black and grey pair of Under Armour socks and a green and blue stripy pair of underpants. Exact same outfit every game.
Wow.
Sounds like Lee Radford in the 2016 final where he wore the same like polo shirt. Instead of wearing, he didn't wear a suit to walk out on the pitch. He said, "I'm wearing this because I've worn it for every round, and it's good luck."
Can we have a simpler, less graphic
I
answer
should
from
say,
Josh?
do you need the
I'll
breakdown?
send you a step-by-step process of me getting ready. And
Yeah.
I start with my socks.
Time lapse video.
I start with my socks, by the way.
Thanks.
Please don't.
I don't
No one wants to see that.
pay any attention to superstitions, what you wear, things like that. I really don't. I'll be wearing my 1980s Challenge Cup final shirt. I wore it against Lee. I wore it to the grand final last
So
year.
you always lose when you wear it then?
No, I
No,
wore,
because you wore it to York.
wore it to
when we-
semi-finals. I
go on.
sometimes wear it to games. I sometimes, it doesn't matter to me. I'll decide on my day if I'm wearing short shorts or normal shorts, see how warm it is. But yeah, that's
Can I just say,
what I'll be wearing.
I'm going to call you out here because before we started recording and this question came up, you said you don't really bother about the shirts and superstitions, but you spoke about your facial hair. So I'm going to call you out.
Well, no, I said I changed my facial hair. I said in the
Swap it out.
No, I decided to do a moustache for the for the Challenge Cup final 2 years ago. Didn't do any good. We lost. So then I grew like a much longer beard, more your length than I normally grow for grand final last year, and it didn't do us any good. So what I was joking was saying I've got a bit of stubble on the go at the minute. I don't really know what to do. I might cut it down into like some lamb chops or we'll see. I ain't decided. We'll see what I do on 5 a.m. Saturday morning.
Wow.
But yeah, mine will be my 1980s heritage top.
What do you do? Like, do you just pick whatever and just roll with it?
Yeah, pretty much.
So I try,
to be
as long as... Where the flipping hell are you going? I'm sure we had a conversation about this. I try and match the players. So if we're playing in black and white, as long as it's clean, sometimes if it's not, I'll wear my black and white shirt. If we're wearing blue, I'll wear blue.
I have. For me, I mentioned it before we started. I used to have a pair of oddballs, black and white, like boxers. Not Hull FC ones, but they were just black and with a white trim. And I wore them for about 7 or 8 seasons, and then they ripped, and yeah, I had to get rid of them. But that was the only ones. I don't know why I started doing it. Maybe we'd won a few games at the start of it, but this season I have been going through a few old shirts. I've worn a few on the pod as well. So I've been wearing a few old shirts to the game as well. But yeah,
I will
not
say
really
I've
I've got
superstitious.
loads
I
of old
was-
shirts that just don't fit.
I was gifted a pair of Rover socks just yesterday from my mum. Susan and my old man wear them socks when they go to games, so they might make an appearance. Not on my feet, but they might make an appearance.
Wow. Really quickly then, Imi sent this one in. Me and you know
Yep.
Imi. Dean. Despite no major trophy for 40 years, would winning the Challenge Cup and not winning the league leaders stroke grand final still be an underachievement for this KR team?
No.
No.
Our main goal is a trophy.
And then
Not multiple trophies,
go from there.
And then go from
Yeah.
there, correct, yeah.
I read it and I can understand where he's coming from, thinking, do they need to win a grand final? Because your team, you are good enough. Let's face it, you are good enough. And I look at this and I think, I'm worried that you'll win the Challenge Cup and then you'll go on and bloody win the grand final as well. Because let's face it, you're good enough. But nah, I've got to agree with you on that. Like, a trophy's a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
That's putting the pressure of it being so long since we've won something onto the same pedestal onto a pedestal that forgets how difficult it is to win something.
Yeah.
It is not easy. What Wigan did last year is unheard of in the sport to do the treble. And you've seen how quick they fell this year at the chance to try and repeat it. Because
You're welcome.
thanks, mate. The league leaders, very tough to win. We've seen teams win it and then you forget they've won it. The grand final, a handful of teams managed to do it, and then the Challenge Cup, only a handful of winners in sort of the Super League era. Neither are easy to win, and just one is good enough.
So,
That leads us on.
final point. What was it you mentioned the other day? Every time we do you a favour to help you win a trophy.
You always go fuck it up.
We mess it.
Yeah.
He drops it.
Oh, well.
Are you joking? 2016, we knocked out Barrow round one, right? So you didn't have to play them.
The worst Hull team in years beat Wigan last year. You still couldn't get your league leaders shield. We've knocked them out the cup this year. If you go and blow it now, well, that's the last
We've
favour
done
we're
everything
doing
we
for
can.
you, I'm telling you.
We clearly live rent-free in your two heads, don't we?
Dean was drunk when he said it. So.
I was.
Anyway, yeah, that's long enough. That's probably longer than we wanted, and Rachel's tried ringing me twice, so see you, bye.
Hey, no, we're having a cup preview first.
What?
That's why I was trying to get you to carry on. You can't not have a cup preview the week of the cup.
You can go if you want.
Let me send her a text.
It's also late
Crack
for
on
us.
with your cup preview. Making me
They
dinner. I'm
deliberately
not
made
witch.
the game
She's making me
sections
dinner.
short so we could do
I know.
this.
If you read the... Yeah.
What he done, does he?
No.
So we've got
How
down
are you
here.
feeling, guys?
As soon as that hooter went on Friday night, I completely forgot about... Not completely forgot about it, but my mind automatically went to next Saturday and my stomach went... It was like... That was a horrid feeling. Like, because there's so much pressure on us this season, next week.
And it's not that I'm not nervous. I did also do the same thing. It was job done, and now all there is to think about is next Saturday, longest week in history. It's going to be a long, tough week to get there. It goes back to that trust thing about what Peters does and where we're building as a team. I think it was a fortnight ago recording this when I sort of argued back the point of we've come close. The teams that have come close are not the team we have now. And the consistency we've showed this year, we have enough on paper, we've shown enough this year, and we have the players in the right positions to win this game and to get that monkey off our back. And that won't take away the nerves during the week, it won't take away the nerves on the day, but we have to trust in that process. And what will happen on Saturday, we'll deal with the outcome. But if I try and look in any different way, it's pointless. It's a bit of sort of a guessing game. Whereas if you try and keep to facts and figures, and anything can happen on the day, I've just got to remain confident that we're doing everything we can. We've said week in, week out when we've been questioned, Peters doesn't make wrong team selections, he doesn't lead us wrong.
So that gets me on to the next point with team selections. We already know one big comeback for Warrington on Saturday. We knew that was going to happen, really, didn't we? One come pretty much out the blue for you guys today. If he is fit, as we're led to believe, is it a big decision to make, or is it a no-brainer? Does he get in that 17 on
Talking
Saturday?
about Mickey Mack. for
Mickey
people
Mack,
listening.
sorry.
Yeah.
You looked at me then like you was expecting me to answer first.
I've got a point on why we haven't known about it. George Williams is a much more influential player to wire, and that's why there's been so much attention around it. Also, they've had a bigger injury crisis than us. Ours has been a little bit under the radar because it's not a crisis. It's been 3 or 4 injuries throughout the start of the season, whereas they've had 6, 7, 8 and ongoing. Williams coming back is the heartbeat of their team, whereas Mickey Mack isn't. He was good, and I was the first one to put my hand up and say he was getting unnecessary hate for the games at the start of the season. But we haven't really been asked about him. We also haven't shouted about him. So I trust that Peters isn't rushing anybody back. Whereas I think this mind game's going on with Williams when he's been interviewed and he's saying, oh, well, you know, I'm sort of fit last week, but I'm sort of keeping it steady. And if this was, George, if this was a league game, would you be playing? Well, I don't really know. It's a bit different. Like, so you are being rushed back.
Burgess has downplayed it as well. Like it has been done before, so it's not groundbreaking, because everyone was trying to big it up, saying it's groundbreaking, but he's really pushed the boundaries.
So, and I think, yeah, and to answer, because I'm a bit long-winded on that point, to answer that, does he get in or not? We said at the start of the season, we signed some players that had big game experience for big games.
He's a big
One
game
of them
player.
is then Mickey Mack. He's a proven winner. He's done it before. And it wouldn't change what Jez provides. In fact, it would give Jez that breather. Because he must be knackered. He's had to do so much in previous weeks. And I know people say it's unfair on Leyland. A young lad who started a handful of games for us. And he hasn't exactly been, you know, a superstar. He's made errors. He's learning on the job. You need to put your strongest team out. And if you've got a fully fit Mickey McLaurin ready to go, and the way I felt he started the season, the way him and Jez interchanged, I think you have to play him.
There's no way after 6 weeks, after rupturing a bicep, that you're fully fit. No chance. So for me, you can't.
Yeah, my question would be, do you need him? Like, you're bringing a player in, like Craig just said, that's it's not fully fit.
It's
know,
not
he
match fit.
Yeah, definitely not match fit. Definitely not fully fit. 6 weeks after rupturing his bicep, there's every chance that it's going to go again. Do you want that? For me, I'm looking at that and thinking, bit of mind games, sling him in at 18th for the experience, let him be around the team. Because in the same way that we've used experienced players to get ourselves up there, you've brought in players like JWH and Mickey Mack to bring that experience. He will do a fantastic job as an 18th man, being out there, warming up with the players, getting them in the right mindset.
18th means he might actually get on the field, though.
Oh yeah, he might.
Look, like I said then, if he's fully fit, I think you play him. If what Craig said, and he's not, and there's no chance or whatever, we don't know. The backroom staff, the S&C guys and Peters know. It might just be man games, we will find out.
I'm sure will.
I do like the idea of him being 18th man, though. So.
Oh, actually, I know something I was going to mention. It's saying I don't believe in superstitions or fate or anything like that. I mentioned a few weeks back when we got talking about the Rhinos challenge at Skegness. It was actually one of my wife's family, so shout out to Nick again. He actually put a tag onto the end of that message that I said I'd wait for Wembley week to mention. So he and the family are big Hull fans. They are from Hull. He lives in York now. And they still go to all the Hull games. But they've also started going to York as well. So they've become season ticket holders for York as well. They've got tickets for Wembley because York are playing. And a lot of the York allocation is in the Rovers end. And he's now seen Rovers 3 times this year. Twice at KCOM.
In the derby, yeah.
In both derbies. And they've lost. He's seen them 3 times already. Andy went to go and watch us against York in the Challenge Cup at York, where York lost and Rovers win. And now he's panicking and saying, I'm going to be in the Rovers end, and for the 4th time, am I Rovers' lucky mascot or whatever? So I hope you are, Nick. So shout out to you, And yeah, but it's unfortunate for him as a Hull fan that he's going to end himself watching 4 Rovers wins this year.
Believe it.
Do I believe it?
No, I'm not.
No, but do I believe we can win or that we will win?
Do you think you will?
I daren't say yes. Everything I said there about we've got the right game plan, we've got the right players, we trust in Willie. We've had... The grand final was heartbreak last year, right? But I don't think it was unexpected. For some reason, the Challenge Cup the year before, even though I've always said we shouldn't have been there, we didn't deserve to beat that Wigan team to get there, it felt like that was our chance, and that was true heartbreak. This does feel like the best chance we've had.
Did your dad... I recall you saying something about what your dad said to you after that final. He said
Yeah,
it's just the start.
Well, just said, son, you're not man. No, I was.
Bring
I know
something
you
nice
was,
in
I know.
there.
No, I was generally just upset. I was quite good about it, and he did say like this wasn't our time. He said that team out there on that pitch that has lost that Challenge Cup final. He said, yeah, we had a chance. He said what we've been building, what we're watching. I've seen this 20, 30, 40 years ago, however long it was. I've watched the team come through. He says we're watching the start of this. You need to believe in the long term. We're not just building a club to win one trophy. we're building a club for long-term success, and that's what he believed. And then watching as we've gone on, we've started to do that. We did go the next year and all of a sudden become a force in the Super League. We did then manage to make it to a grand final. We did finish second. I was watching the Red V podcast that the Saints have after Friday night, and what the guy was saying there was, we came to test ourselves against a top 4 team. Since when have Rovers been that top 4 team? All right, yeah, we have for 2 years. But when do clubs like Saints, and not just Saints fans, their podcasts, their respected members of journalists and media that say it, and that mindset change is coming, and that's why you have got to believe that these steps we've taken and where we're at now, that you've got to believe that, yes, we can get it done. And I do think this one would be particularly heartbreaking to lose if we did.
I stand by what I said a few weeks back. You have to win this. This is, and you just said it then, this is the best chance that you've had. And I can't see there being a better chance. Like, you're coming up against a very weak in terms of fitness. That they could, for all intents and purposes, I know they can't, but they could play 1 through 13 starting lineup, but they're not all fit. Do you know what I mean? Like, you're coming up against a team that's damaged physically.
No excuses. We get that.
Wounded animals are dangerous animals.
True.
The sport, cup games, particularly Challenge Cup, has a long history of upsets. Wire won the Challenge Cup in 2019 against one of the best Saints teams of the decade that was clean up everywhere. They turned up on the day and turned them over. I'd argue that at least one of your Challenge Cup wins was very unexpected. You was a decent team, but I think that you was up against a very, very strong team, and that's just 2 or 10 examples off the top of my head. So anything can happen on the day, and that's why we have to keep that realistic view. Something I did find interesting, I know we're running through time quite a lot, the mentality of Rovers, still keeping on that. It's just another game, next team up. Has kept us grounded all year. It's got us through some tough wins, it's got us through some great wins, and whilst it will be elevated as the week goes on, keeping that as a style we're doing, I think that's sort of commendable.
Getting that balance right. You are going into a big game. Your players don't want to be thinking, oh yeah, just a normal week, and then they walk out for that walkthrough on Friday afternoon at Wembley and go, oh, yeah.
Maybe it's not.
Are we going to see any of that shithousery from some random FC fan setting off fireworks outside the Rovers hotel the night before?
Well,
not that I want to give anyone any ideas or anything.
Can do it on Thursday morning when we wave the team bus off. 10 a.m. at Craven Park if they want. They might get lynched, but the other point I wanted to make, just on attendance. So as a general point of view on the attendance, the highest attendance that they've had recently was your 2016 final
against Warrington.
Warrington.
It's the last one over 70,000, I think.
What the report I said was that was 67,000. So I don't know.
That was the week after, the year after against Wigan. I think.
I think it was the Wigan one was higher. Was the 70,000? Is that right?
No, Wigan was 67-ish, I think, and Warrington was like 70.
Right. Okay. So that's the highest since. They're expecting close to 65,000. They've confirmed 60k sold. But what's interesting, and these figures only come through official tickets sold through the club, we must say, so people have purchased them separate, but Wire reporting around 8k sold, whereas Rovers at the minute, the figures bouncing between 15 and 18k.
Well, I think what they've said, 15 and over 15 from the club, they're expecting close to 18,000 Rovers fans in the ground, because others have bought, like yourselves, through other avenues. So, but I'm sorry, 8k for a final.
That's embarrassing.
That's
shocking. Just to jump in, they've sold over 60, expecting 65. So there is over 30,000 neutrals going to the game, which is great.
Not necessarily.
You've
got
York,
Fev and you've got York and you've got the women's final as well.
Yeah.
As a whole,
it would be nice to see how many like Fev have sold and York have
You're
sold.
probably looking at 15 to 20,000 neutrals.
But still, 8k.
I did see a Wire fan trying to defend this online on Facebook. I know, cesspool that it is. And it said, we've had a Vegas trip, we've had a Catalan trip coming up in July, and we've also got, what else they said? There was another point, and a Rovers fan came straight back and said, we've been to Amsterdam, we're also going to Catalan in July, and we're now going to Vegas. You go and support your club. End of.
Yeah, you live for these moments. It's a final.
You find a way, don't you?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Maybe it's down a little bit, but 8k. You all average, 11,000 home games? It's about right. If you take 18k, you've added 50-60% on to what you normally have at a home game, and that's normally the rule of thumb, isn't it? Because you have your day trippers, which is absolutely fine. I've got no problem with that. But then, why are that less than their average attendance at home?
And don't get me wrong, there will be more because there'll be ones that have bought through RFL. But yeah, it's just that's what's been reported today. It's not a good showing.
It's not.
Not trying to take control, but he's flapping about wrapping up. I think we need to do two things: predict our Lance Todd and predict our
Just
scores.
ignore him. I'm going to go a bit left field here with my Lance Todd. I'm going to go Jack Broadbent.
I don't think that's left field at all.
I think
He
that's
has
a fair
been
shout.
so good for us, no matter what position we have put him in this season, and he just pops up all the time. And I think if he can carry on carrying out from the back as strong as he has done, if he gets 1, possibly 2 tries, and we don't concede many, his name's in the hat. So Jack Broadbent for me.
He scored, do you think?
Can I sit on a fence?
No.
Oh
Gotta give some.
no, because I don't like jinxing it. 0-0.
Oh, 1-0 loss in extra time.
Overtime. 26-10 to Rovers.
I was going to go 26-12 before he
I
said
was
his,
tossing between 10 and 12 for
To-
for
to-
I can't believe you think Sneady's going to miss a kick.
Yeah, that's what threw me. If he's going to turn up on the day, I've got a lot of points and theories about the injuries him and Williams are carrying, how we're going to attack him and what the forwards are going to do. It won't affect his kicking. It might affect him in the middle defending. We don't know until the day, but I don't think Sneed, when he's on the ball, I do think he will kick. We've also got the question over, without Morg kicking, how strong are we at kicking conversions? So I think we're more likely to miss than they are, but 26-12. But for me, the Lance Todd, I'm going Jez Litten.
It's a good shout.
Yeah, my show. If Rovers play the game and not the occasion, 10 to 16 point win. I was looking at around 20 points to 10. But Wembley can do strange things to good players, and you can't write wire off. But if I was a betting man, I'd be putting my money on you guys unfortunately, ending that 40-year drought. So yeah, like you, Jez Litten, 20 points to 10.
Let me guess, Jimmy. Victor Crumb to catch the snitch, but Alan to win.
I love it.
Someone's been
I know
watching
what he's
Harry
going to
Potter.
predict.
Go on then. What am I going to predict?
17-16 to Warrington. Mark
17
Sneed
and a
drop
half
goal to
minute.
win it. Mark Sneed, Lance Todd.
So I was going to say something like that as a joke. I like.
That's why I had a feeling.
For me, it would be nice for me to see Sneedy get a fair Lance Todd. But in all seriousness, I think score wise, I think it will be a very close first half, and that's why I'm going to say that Warrington are going to score 7, because I think Sneedy will ping one over before half time, and it might be like a 6-6 going in at half time, 7-6. But then I think Rovers will probably not run away with it, but you'll nil them in the second half. Yeah, take control. You'll score 2 tries in the second half, maybe. So I'm going to go for 14-7 because I don't think you'll convert your tries in the second half. I think Mikey will get.
You've gone right into this, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm properly thinking about it. I think Mikey will get Lance Todd. I don't think. I think it'll be one of them ones where they'll give Mikey it because it's Mikey. Not to say that he won't play
deserve
well,
it, yeah.
but I can see it being one of them ones where
He's
people
always
turn
on
round.
people's minds.
There's also that
people
chance.
will turn round at the end of it, like us, and we'll be like, "Nah, that was Broadbent's that." Broadbent deserved that. You know, sometimes you do get that. You like they give it to your quarterback, don't you?
We had
When
that in
really
our
your
five.
tight end deserves it.
Sinfield got it,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
the likes of Swain should have got it for us in 05, really.
Sam Burgess, grand final, NRL grand final against Bulldogs. He got it because he was a powerhouse and his cheek was fractured in the first hit up. But George Burgess was the best player on the field that day.
Yeah.
And the thing with Mikey is, I can easily see it becoming that way, because if he plays a 7 or 8 out of 10 performance, leads that team around the park, and we win convincingly, it almost doesn't matter unless somebody else is an absolute superstar on the day. We have become that team that was talking there about Saints fans and Wigan fans saying our squad isn't better than their squad, but these names because they've upped the game. If when we do that, all the players play an 8 or 9 out of 10, so then they have to pick one.
I feel like I put so much thought into that I have to put a bet on it. So I'm going to go Rovers winning 14-7, Mikey Lance Todd.
Thanks for support, James. And he was a Rovers fan.
And he
Always
tried to
in
get
bed.
out of this section as well, didn't he? By
I'll do
finishing up
anything to
real
win
quick.
money, mate. I'll do anything. Like, people have said to me in the past, like, I've bet against Hull. If it wins me money, I don't care.
Yeah.
You do care.
I mean, I care that we lost, but
But you're also happy that you won.
yeah, I
some
won money. So
Anyway, so yeah, if you're travelling down to Wembley, travel safe. Hopefully, see you all there.
Yeah, safe
And
travels.
hopefully,
I hope you're not coming home
an
happy, but
exuberant
safe
trip
travels.
back.
yeah,
So yeah, I think that just about wraps
I
it up.
am looking forward to the picture of the parade bus that doesn't get used. That's what I'm looking forward to. I don't care if it's Wire or Rovers.
I'm looking forward to days since on Twitter ticking over to 1. Hopefully,
Do you reckon he will, or do you
You've
reckon
been
he'll just
going on
delete
about that
his
for ages.
profile?
I hope it goes to 1 just to carry on that.
It would be good. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
but-
do remember when we lost the grand final and you played us out the podcast since 1985?
There's a plan. Don't you worry.
That's all right, there is a plan.
Oh, all right. Fair enough.
I'd expect nothing less.
Who edits the podcast?
No, let's play the game.
All right. Yeah, fair enough. Whatever you want me to do, I'll do it. On that note,
You best finish up before you get yourself in trouble.
see you. Bye.
See you, bye.
See you, bye.
See you, bye.